So if I want to change something like sine 50 and I want to make this into cos something, what we need to understand from what we learned up there is that we need to rewrite 50 in terms of, and these are our choices, we need to rewrite it in terms of 90 minus theta, 90 plus theta, or theta minus 90. If we can write it in any of this, we can automatically change it to cos. If you're wondering which of these three do I use, whenever you're working with values in the first quadrant, we use this. Whenever you're working with values in the second quadrant, we use this. And whenever you're working with negative values, which happens to be in the fourth quadrant, you will definitely use this one over here. And I would explain, especially the last one, I'll explain what I mean by that in one example. Let's go back to this. We have sine 50 to cos something. What do? We write the, since 50 is in the first quadrant, we write it as sine 90 minus 40. And as you know, 90 minus 40 gives you 50. And therefore, the answer of this would just be cos 40. That's it. What if I have something like cos 150? And I need to make it in terms of sine. What in the world do I do? Same story. Look at this. This is in the second quadrant. So I rewrite it in terms of that. So this would become cos 90 plus 60. Because 90 plus 60 gives you 150. And therefore, from what we talked about, since cos is negative in the second quadrant, my answer here will be negative sine 60. Is the exact same answer as I have over there. The last one, which looks a little bit complicated, let's say you do have something like this. You have sine negative 43. How exactly do you change this into cos, which is negative theta? This is in our fourth quadrant for the negative angles. 47 minus 90. As you can see, it looks more or less like that, theta minus 90. So if I say this, 47 minus 90, it gives you that there, negative 43. So from what we talked about before, sine is what? Negative in the fourth quadrant, right? So for that answer, it affects our choice. This will just be written as negative cos 47 degrees. So this is exactly how you rewrite your values in terms of these three formulas: 90 minus theta, 90 plus theta, and theta minus 90. If it's in the first quadrant, we use the first one. If it's in the second quadrant, we use the second one. If it's in the fourth quadrant, we use that one over there. And that's exactly, this is a perfect example of how it works. Okay, so we have this question here that we're trying to simplify. This question here tells us sine 315 tan 210 sine 190 over cos 100 sine 120. We are going to reduce this. So the reduction of this would be, this is because 315 is in the fourth quadrant, and this is 210 is in the third quadrant, and this one here is 190 is in the third quadrant. That's also rewritten in the third quadrant. Then we have cos 100. And there are two things we notice about cos 100. Now, cos 100 can be rewritten as, because it's in the second quadrant. And it could also be rewritten as this, because that's a co-function. Now, the reason why I'm thinking of this specifically is because of that up here, we have sine 180 plus 10. And I'm thinking that if I write 90 plus 10, I will be able to change cos into sine, which will help my next step, which can actually cross cancel. Yeah, because sine 10 and sine 10 would be able to cancel themselves out. I'm going to write it as, and this here is because 120 is in the second quadrant. Then from there, we just finally reduce them, assign each of the sign for the quadrants. This here will be written as sine negative in the fourth quadrant, tan positive in the third quadrant. Sine is negative in the fourth quadrant, cos is negative in the second quadrant, so therefore in that turn sine would also be negative here. And sine is positive in the second quadrant. So you can see that we making this 90 plus 10 pays off in this step over here. Because in this step here, we are definitely allowed to just cross cancel this negative sine 10 and also cross cancel that negative sine 10. Then we can now simplify the rest. These are all special angles, so it should not be so much of a problem. So this can be written as and that exactly will be your final answer. This is exactly how they wanted you to simplify this sort of question.